This is Brian with Main Street Moments, and this channel is as dead as the people in this cemetery. The channel may even be deader. Here we are at Evergreen Cemetery, established 1910. And this is where Leslie Nielsen is buried. This is a tiny little gate to drive through. I had to check and make sure that this is for cars and not golf carts. And if I park here, I'm going to be blocking traffic. There's not a parking lot. I am going to stop here and then look online as to exactly where in the cemetery Leslie Nielsen is. It says the grave of Leslie Nielsen is in the northern part of the cemetery, which is where I'm at, between the two drives. So I'm on one of the drives. So I'm going to find a way to kind of pull over. It says do not park on the grass, so I'm just going to stop right here and walk towards the other road. If someone needs to come by, they can drive around me, not a problem. Okay, I am on one of the two drives, and I'm as far north as you can get in the cemetery. But the north can go from here all the way down to there. I don't have the exact spot, but I do know that there's a bench that has a back on it to look for. And I believe it's under trees, but I'm really going to be looking for a bench with a back on it. That'll stand out. I read over the directions again. It said the northern part of the cemetery between the two drives, of which I'm on the northernmost drive, near the center. Now I see a bench with a back on it right there. I wonder if that's Leslie Nielsen. Let's find out. Surely that can't be Leslie Nielsen's grave. It is? And don't call me Shirley. How many times has that joke been told over this grave? That's it, Leslie Nielsen. Surprisingly, very easy to find. I just parked, did a quick search online, and walked here. It took, I don't know, 1 minute. I don't see any airplanes around here, but the stethoscope is from my favorite movie with Leslie Nielsen, and that is Airplane. Airplane is the funniest movie ever, and he's so good in it. His headstone is already sunk a little bit. Look at that. And another thing, this is Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but there are no palm trees in this cemetery. It doesn't really look like Florida, does it? It's a nice day out, but it doesn't look like Florida at all. This could be up north somewhere. That stethoscope's been there a while. It is rusted, and this is his bench. Sit down whenever you can. Leslie Nielsen. The other benches did not have backs, so that made it a lot easier to find. The baseball, I'm assuming, is from the baseball scene in The Naked Gun. But I don't see any little airplanes. In all the vlogs and photos I've seen of Leslie Nielsen's grave, there's always one or two little toy airplanes, and I don't see any airplanes anywhere. Well, if I would have known, I would have ordered one on Amazon and brought it. And the letter RIP, it's a funny thing about Leslie Nielsen is if you go back and you watch TV interviews with him, he took a whoopee cushion with him everywhere. And he was always setting off this fart machine or leaving whoopee cushions behind. And he just thought fart jokes were the funniest. And this fart machine that he walked around with was so bizarre, but I've seen him on so many interviews using that fart machine. Let me take a seat on Leslie Nielsen's bench. He says, sit down whenever you can, so I'll do it. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Main Street Moments channel because it's been a long time since I posted to this channel, and the channel has been through some changes back and forth and a lot of inactivity, and I thought I'd tell you guys what was going on and what I plan on doing in the future with this channel. Solid stone, but it is comfortable. So let's talk about the Main Street Moments channel. What happened to the channel, what's going to happen to the channel, and why it's a dead channel right now. And when I say that Main Street Moments is a dead channel, it is as dead gets. But I want to try to bring it back. But let me tell you a little bit about the channel and what the channel was about and what the channel went through. And then I'll tell you where we are today and what my plans are. I've been wanting to see this Leslie Nielsen grave for a long time. And I've never come over here, even though I went to high school right down the street. My mother lives up the street from here. And I grew up in this neighborhood. I didn't know Leslie Nielsen lived in my neighborhood. He lived not far from here, where he's buried. But I thought bringing back this dead YouTube channel, Main Street Moments, a perfect place to do that would be at a cemetery. And what better cemetery in South Florida to do that at than the one with Leslie Nielsen? The Main Street Moments channel's been through a lot. We started this channel at about the time that Toy Story Land opened at Disney Hollywood Studios. And the channel was set up to be a vlogging channel for the Orlando theme parks, mainly Disney World. And we vlogged Disney World for a long time. A really long time. And Universal. And SeaWorld a couple times. But mainly Disney with a little Universal. And we were annual pass holders to both. And we even thought we'd move to Orlando one day and become more full-time with the theme park vlogging. But that changed. You know, we started doing the channel. It was my wife, myself, and my daughter. And our daughter grew up and moved out and actually moved to California. So going to the theme parks with our daughter, those days were, well, over because she grew up and couldn't go to the parks. My wife is disabled, has health issues, and we live 2.5, 3 hours away from Walt Disney World at our house. So to go up there was very difficult and really became impossible for her. Not just because of the distance, also because of the Florida heat affects her with her disability. So I started vlogging by myself, and I was doing that for quite a while, and the channel started picking up. You know, we were getting more and more views. People knew about us. Other YouTubers started to know us. And I'd start running into other vloggers at Disney, and they would know me, of course, and I would know them. And then, you know. And after a time, though, I stopped going to the parks by myself because I know a lot of people will say, oh, you can go to Disney World by yourself and have a good time. I guess it's possible, but that's really BS. That's just something vloggers say because most people that are vlogging alone. Like, I'm by myself now in the cemetery, but when I would go to Walt Disney World by myself, it was depressing. I was sad every time because I'm there. I'm not with my wife. I'm not with my daughter. My family is not with me. I'm by myself. And you see all these families around, and I found it sad and depressing. But I kept doing it for a while. Now, just because I was slowing down on the Main Street Moments channel doesn't mean I gave up on YouTube. I have another YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show is that channel, Brian Craig Show, if you want to check it out. And that is connected to my profession, my career, my full-time job. I'm a radio talk show host, and I do a morning show on a whole bunch of radio stations. And I have a pretty large following, both on the radio and online. And when I'm on the radio in the morning, I live stream my radio show on YouTube. And I have over 100,000 subs to that channel, and it's a successful channel. And I also, as that channel got bigger, I started focusing my time and effort on that channel. And even though the Main Street Moments channel would get views to drive 2.5, 3 hours each way to get to the park and then spend all day there and neglect my main channel, just didn't make a lot of sense. So I started slowing down what I was doing vlogging at the theme parks. This area of the cemetery, Babyland, pretty sad, huh? There's a lot of unmarked graves in this section of people that died in the 1929 Florida hurricane. You see a whole area over here that doesn't have any headstones. That's what that is. Pretty large area. There's a marker here and there, and here's a headstone that's cracked from someone who passed in 1948. So when I stopped going to the park so much so I could focus on my main channel, Brian Craig Show, we started the Main Street Moments podcast. And the Main Street Moments podcast, that is when the channel really started to take off. Some of those podcast episodes have over 400,000 views, which is a lot for us in this channel. And that's a lot for any channel, isn't it, really? I know there's always somebody bigger, but there's always a bigger fish. But it was pretty sizable. And what we were doing with that channel was talking about the other vloggers. We were giving, a lot of times it was gossip. Sometimes it was scandal. But we followed, it was really kind of like a weekly show of what's going on with the theme park vloggers for that week. And there's a lot of drama with the vloggers. And sometimes some scandal, and some of them do stupid things, like get in fights with guests on the Jungle Cruise, or one time the trackers did a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood, and there were all kinds of things. Or and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that for a while, and then what started happening in that space is there's a lot of parody channels that started up. There was one that was doing it at the same time as us, Florida Resident Edits, and they were pretty hardcore with the things they were doing, mostly towards Michael K, but others like the WDW couple and everything. But we kept doing it, and the Main Street Moments podcast really started to get popular. Yeah, not only were we getting a lot of views, we started interviewing different vloggers. And we did that. We interviewed a lot of the vloggers. In fact, I even went to Walt Disney World just to interview Ron on the Go. And I made a vlog about that. I took the Bright Line to Disney World that day. So I got a couple vlogs on this channel about that. It was the Bright Line to Disney World. And then there's a vlog where Disney would not let me into the park. They wouldn't let me into the Magic Kingdom because I had 2 microphones in my backpack, and I brought the microphones to interview Ron on the Go. And I got a vlog out of that, and I got quite a few views, and I interviewed Ron on the Go at the Polynesian. And that was the last time I went to Walt Disney World, was that Ron on the Go interview. And that had to be at least 2 years ago, if not 3. But we were still doing the podcast, and then we stopped. And we stopped doing the podcast for a very specific reason. The parody channels some of them are pretty rough on the vloggers. And not in a fun way. And I and my wife, we just didn't feel right being lumped in with those guys with our podcast. It just didn't seem fun or nice anymore, because we were really, in a way, we're fans of the different vloggers, so we were talking about them kind of like a TMZ style Main Street Moments podcast, because we're fans of all these guys. You know, Resort TV 1, JoJo, JoJo's World, and all the rest. You know who they are. And because of the other channels, it had an impact on us, and we became, from time to time, more and more critical, and we just didn't enjoy that. So we stopped doing the Main Street Moments podcast because of that. So the channel sat there for a long time. I would post something up occasionally just to keep the channel active. A video of me going here or going there, but that was just really to keep the channel active. It wasn't consistent or anything. And then my wife does art at home, and she says, well, the channel's monetized. Why don't I start uploading my art to the Main Street Moments channel? So she changed the name of the channel, made all of the old Main Street Moments vlogs and podcasts on private. And the reason she did that is the watch hours, right? If you delete your videos, you lose the watch hours. So if you ever make a change on your channel, don't delete your videos. Make them private. This is a Jewish section of the cemetery that I'm walking through now. And she was doing that for a while, but because of her health issues, that became difficult. And she came to me recently and said, I just can't keep up with uploading to the channel. She says, I'm going to make all my art videos private and switch it back to Main Street Moments if you want to take it back over and start vlogging on the channel. And I said, okay. I still vlog on my other channel. The Brian Craig Show channel is about news and politics, and I live stream there every day. I have a podcast. It's a video podcast that I do there every day. I also vlog there and do a lot of things there. They get a lot of views, and I got a good audience. I did a vlog recently going to Alligator Alcatraz, and if you go to the Brian Craig Show channel, you'll see what I do there. But I do vlog still for my Patreon supporters on my other channel and members to my other channel from time to time. So I said, yeah, I'll take over the Main Street Moments channel again. My wife changed it back, and I was very happy that we could keep the name, because I always liked the Main Street Moments name, and I was afraid we wouldn't be able to get the name back. If we didn't get the name back, I'd change the name to something, but I didn't want to lose the Main Street Moments name, and thankfully we didn't. We got to keep it. So I'm going to start vlogging again, and this is vlog number 1, but this vlog is just me updating you on what happened to the channel and where we've been and why and what we're going to do moving forward. So, like in a zombie movie, I'm going to see if I can raise this dead YouTube channel from the dead, from the grave, and get it alive again. I live in South Florida, which is a tourist destination. Every year, I take a listener cruise with people that watch on my Brian Craig Show channel and listen to me on the radio. We have listeners that come from all over the United States to go on my MAGA cruise with me every year. Our next one's in March. We're going to Antigua and a couple of other destinations. We do that every year. It's a lot of fun. We got a great group of people, and more and more come every year. The group gets larger and larger every year. In fact, this is the 10th year that I've done that cruise. In March will be my 10th year. What I learned from my watchers on YouTube and listeners that come to Florida to go on my MAGA cruise every year is they take shore excursions here in Fort Lauderdale, in South Florida, where I live. And it always cracks me up. We'll get back from our 7-day cruise, and they'll take a shore excursion in Fort Lauderdale. And our travel agent, his name's Ian with Cruise and Travel Depot. He's in Palm Beach County if you want to look him up. And I told him, I said, it's so hard for me to understand that people take shore excursions in the town that we live in. He's like, yeah, all the time. A whole bunch of them do. So I realized I live in a tourist town. In fact, when I was a little kid, before I lived here, my family, we used to come right here where I live on vacation. So there's a lot of things to do in South Florida. So I'm going to start vlogging things in South Florida and upload them to the channel. And I'm inviting you to join me on my attempt to bring this dead channel back to life. So if you're new here, subscribe. If you're not new and you're subscribed and I popped up in your feed for the first time in years, make sure you click that notification bell and watch my future videos, all right? My name's Brian Craig. This is Main Street Moments. I'll see you next time.